The morning they married her off, Zara owned two things: a dress that had been her mother's, and a name nobody in that house said kindly. They handed her to a poor man the way you settle a debt, because that is what she was to them. A debt with a face. Her stepmother smiled through the whole thing. Relief looks a lot like joy on the wrong face. A year later, Zara would walk back through that same door, and every proud person in that room would go down on their knees. Here is what nobody in that house knew. The plain man in the cheap suit, the pauper they laughed at, the nobody they were so glad to be rid of, he was not poor. He was the most dangerous man in the city. And she was about to become his wife. Subscribe so you don't miss the moment they find out. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight. I want to know who was in the room when the poor man took off his coat. Let me take you back to before the wedding, to the girl nobody looked at twice. Zara was 26. Her father had remarried when she was 9. The new wife, Reiko, brought 2 daughters and a simple math. There was only so much love in that house, and Zara was not going to get any of it. Her father did not fight it. He was a quiet man who chose peace over his own child every single time. So Zara worked. She ran the family's little restaurant. Not on paper. On paper it was Reiko's. But Zara was the one there at 5 in the morning. She was the one who knew every supplier by name. She cooked. She kept the books. She turned a dying shop into the one place on the street with a line out the door. And for that, she slept in the storeroom and ate what the customers left. She was good. That was the thing they could not forgive. A useful girl is easy to keep small. You just never say thank you. The trouble came the way it always comes to families like that. A loan her father had borrowed from the wrong man. A lender named Ozaki, who smiled and then stopped smiling. The debt grew the way those debts do, and one night Ozaki's men came into the restaurant and turned over a table, just to show they could. Reiko found her answer fast, and it was Zara. There was a man, Reiko said. A quiet man. Not much to look at, not much to his name, but he had offered something strange. He would take on the family's whole debt. He would clear it, every yen. He asked for one thing in return. He wanted to marry the stepdaughter, the one who ran the shop. Reiko could not sign the girl away fast enough. Think of it as luck, she told Zara. A man is willing to take you, and he pays us for the trouble. You will never do better. Look at you. Zara looked at her hands, burned from the stove. Strong, she did not cry. She had learned a long time ago that crying only tells people they won. She said one word. Yes, because the alternative was watching Ozaki's men come back. And because no one in that house had ever once asked her what she wanted, so why would this be different? The wedding was small and cruel. The relatives came to watch, not to celebrate. They looked at the groom and they smirked. His suit did not fit right. His car was 15 years old. He had 2 men with him, plain and silent, who stood at the back and did not eat. They found someone even lower than her. An aunt whispered, not quietly. A match made in the gutter. The groom heard it. Zara saw him hear it. His face did not change at all. He only turned and looked at the aunt for one long, still moment, until she found something else to look at. Zara did not understand that stillness yet. She would. His name was Kaito. What the aunt did not know, what none of them knew, was who had just chosen to look at her, because men far more dangerous than that aunt had learned to be quiet when Kaito looked at them like that. They drove away in the old car. Zara waited for the mask to drop. She waited for the poor kind man to become something ugly the moment the door closed. It was what she had been taught to expect. It did not happen. He took her to a modest house at the edge of the city. Wooden, plain A garden in the back that someone tended with real care. He carried her bag himself. He took his shoes off at the door, careful, out of habit. He showed her a room that was hers alone, with a lock on the inside, and he gave her the key. "You don't owe me anything," Kaito said. "Not that. Not ever. I did not buy a wife. I paid a debt so a bad man would leave a good woman alone. What happens after that is yours to decide." Zara stood in a stranger's house holding a key to her own door and did not know what to do with kindness. She had no shelf to put it on. That first night, she locked the door, not against him, out of habit. She lay awake and listened. She waited for footsteps that did not come. None came. In the morning there was tea outside her door. Bad tea. He had tried, and failed, and left it anyway. There was a note under the cup. It said, "Sleep as long as you like. No one here needs anything from you." She read it 4 times. She had never owned a morning before. She learned him slowly. He rose early, like she did. He cooked badly and laughed about it. He asked her opinion on things and then actually listened. When she cooked, he ate like it was the first good meal of his life and told her so. He noticed she left the last bite of everything, an old habit from years of never being sure there would be more. He never said a word about it. He just made sure there was always more. One evening he took her downtown. A real restaurant. White cloth. Silver on the table. The owner nearly fell over himself. Kaito ignored all of it. He asked Zara what was wrong with the food. She told him, honestly, too much salt. The fish had sat too long. He listened like she was the only expert in the room. Then he told the owner to do exactly what she said. The man wrote it down with a shaking hand. A woman the world called worthless. Correcting a kitchen that cost a fortune, while a dangerous man watched her like she hung the moon. But there were other things, quieter things. Men came to the house sometimes, in dark cars, and spoke to Kaito in low voices in the garden. They bowed to him, not politely. Deeply, the way you bow to someone who holds your life in his hand. Once, at a shop, the owner went pale when Kaito walked in and refused to take his money. Kaito had a fingertip missing from his left hand. When Zara asked, he only said it was an old debt, paid a long time ago. She told herself there was an ordinary answer. There is always an ordinary answer, if you need one badly enough. One night a man came to the door who should not have. Angry, loud. He wanted money, or a name, or a fight. Kaito stepped outside and pulled the door shut behind him. Zara heard low voices. Then, nothing at all. Then a car leaving, fast. Kaito came back in and took his shoes off. He asked if she wanted more rice. His hands were steady. Whatever had been at the door was simply gone. She was beginning to understand something. The things that frightened other people did not frighten her husband. She did not yet understand why. What Zara did not know was that the plain wooden house was one of 9 he owned. That the 2 silent men at the wedding had killed for him, and would again. That the whole city paid him something, every week, in fear, or in cash, or in both. She had married the most powerful man in the region. And he had let her think she married a pauper, because for the first time in his life, someone was learning to care for him without knowing there was anything to gain. He wanted, just once, to be chosen for the man and not the empire. Weeks passed, and something in the house changed. It got warmer. She caught him watching her cook with a look she did not have a name for. She caught herself humming. One night a storm knocked the power out, and they sat by a single candle, and she told him about her mother, the dress, the name nobody said kindly. He listened to all of it. Then he said the things she would remember for the rest of her life. He said, "In this house, your name is the only one that gets said kindly." And he meant it. She cried then, not from grief, from something with no name. He did not reach for her. He just stayed. Close, but not too close. He let her have it. The candle burned low. Neither of them moved to fix it. Outside, the storm passed. Inside, something settled that had been loose in her for years. She fell asleep in the chair. When she woke, a blanket was over her. She never saw him put it there. In the morning, she cooked. He ate every bite. He said it was the best meal of his life. He said that every time. And every time, he meant it. Then the past came knocking. It always does. Ozaki, the lender, had not gone away quietly. Clearing one debt had cost him a client he liked to squeeze, and he did not like losing. He started leaning on the family again. New loans. New threats. Reiko, panicking, did the only thing she knew how to do. She came looking for the daughter she had thrown away. She arrived at the wooden house with her nose in the air, even now. She looked at the plain rooms and the old car in the drive, and she almost laughed with relief. Good, the girl had done as badly as promised. Reiko could work with desperate. "Your family needs you," Reiko said, which was a new sentence for her. "Ozaki will ruin us. Your father will lose everything. You have a husband now. Surely a man, even a small one, can do something. Beg him. It is the least you owe this family." Zara looked at the woman who had sold her to settle a table she overturned. And she felt, of all things, tired. "I'll ask him," Zara said. "Not for you," she thought. "For my father, who was a coward, but who is still my father." She did not have to ask him, in the end. Kaito had already heard. Kaito heard everything. And Ozaki, it turned out, had made a mistake 3 years in the making. Because Ozaki did not own the money he lent. Ozaki borrowed it from a man higher up. And that man, at the very top of the ladder Ozaki was so proud of climbing, was Kaito. The pauper owned the loan shark, who was terrorizing the family that had thrown their daughter to him for being worthless. Kaito did not raise his voice. He made one call. He told Zara to wear something she liked, and to come with him, and to trust him for one evening. She did. The dinner was Reiko's idea of a rescue. She had begged Ozaki for a meeting to plead the family's case. A formal one, in a private room, with her husband and her real daughters arranged like a display. She had told Zara to come and bring the poor husband, thinking a pitiful son-in-law might soften the room. She had no idea what she had actually invited. Ozaki arrived like a king. He sat at the head of the table. He enjoyed the fear in the room. He named a number the family could not pay, and watched Zara's father's face fall into his hands. Then the door opened, and Kaito walked in his cheap suit, and Ozaki stood up so fast his chair went over backward. The whole room watched the most feared lender any of them had ever met go white as paper and bow. Deeply, from the waist, to the poor man in the bad suit, held far too long, the way you bow when your life is in the balance and you know it. "Oyabun," Ozaki said to the floor. "I did not know. I swear to you, I did not know she was your wife. I did not know the family was under your... You knew she was under my roof," Kaito said. Quiet, level, worse than any shout. That was enough. That was always enough. Reiko's mouth had come open. She looked at the plain man she had laughed at the men in the doorway now, more of them, all bowing. at the lender on his feet, begging a pauper. And the whole shape of the last year rearranged itself in her face at once. The nobody, the gutter match, the debt with the ill-fitting suit was the most dangerous man any of them would ever be in a room with, and they had handed him their daughter to be rid of her. Kaito settled the debt in a sentence. It was gone. Ozaki would never touch this family again, he said, and Ozaki wept his thanks for being allowed to leave the room at all. The father sat with his face in his hands, saved by the child he never once protected. Then Kaito turned to Reiko. And he did not shout. He did the crueler thing. He was polite. "You will apologize to my wife," he said, "for every year of it. Not to me. To her, and you will call her by her name. I have heard how this house said it. You will say it kindly, or you will not speak in front of me again." The proud woman who had sold a girl to settle a debt got down in front of her husband, her daughters, the lender, and the men at the door. She bowed to Zara. She said her name. She said it kindly, because she was terrified, and it was the first time in 17 years those two things had ever forced her to. Zara did not gloat. She had waited a year and a lifetime for this exact room. And when it came, she felt strangely quiet. She looked at her father and forgave him a little, because he was small and it was too late to be anything else. She looked at Reiko on the floor and felt the old wound close over, finally, with nothing left inside it. Then she took her husband's hand, the one with the missing fingertip, and they left that room together while it was still bowing. They went home. The plain wooden house. He made her terrible tea, and she let him, and they sat in the garden he tended himself, because some things a powerful man still likes to do with his own hands. She had married a poor man to save a family that despised her. She had ended up the wife of the most powerful man in the city. But that was never the point, and she knew it. The point was the key on the inside of the door. The point was a name said kindly. The point was a man who wanted to be loved before he was feared. Here is the thing about the ones you throw away. You never actually know what you are holding when you decide it is worthless. Power is not the loud thing, the fear, the men in the doorway. Power is quiet. It is the choice not to become ugly the moment the door closes. It is being chosen for who you are, by someone with every reason to demand more. They gave a girl away to be rid of her, and they gave her the whole world by mistake. Now tell me, what was the moment you stopped scrolling? The stepmother selling her to settle a table, the key on the inside of the door, or the loan shark's chair going over backward? Tell me in the comments. Share this with someone who was treated like they were worth nothing, when they were worth everything. And if you want to know what happened the first time Reiko tried to come back into Zara's life, say part 2, and I'll tell you the rest.